Engineer Dr. Lee Biwa.
Question 18, please.
Mr. Speaker, personal mobility device or PMD users and their accident victims can undertake mediation at the Singapore Mediation Centre or SMC or the Law Society of Singapore. Mediation is voluntary and can only proceed with both parties in attendance. The SMC facilitates this by contacting the relevant parties and explaining the benefits of mediation. To date, the SMC and Law Society have not received any mediation cases involving PMD users and their accident victims. The Law Society's charges start from $350 per party. SMC's charges start from $107 per party and varies according to the type of mediation and the dispute amount. SMC also provides subsidized rates to applicants with financial difficulties on a case-by-case basis. The duration of mediation depends on the complexity of the issues and the parties' willingness to resolve the dispute. The negotiation process is confidential, and parties generally do not disclose the compensation amount. If mediation fails, either because one party refuses to attend or the parties are unable to come to a resolution, the claimant can choose to file a civil suit in the state courts. The Active Mobility Advisory Panel and LTA strongly encourage all active mobility device users to purchase third-party liability insurance to protect themselves against third-party claims in the event of an accident.
Engineer Lee Biwa.
Thank you, sir. I have 4 supplementary questions. Just now, SMS mentioned that if one party refuses to attend mediation, then the next recourse is civil suit. I think a lot of people think that that one firstly costs money and it is very troublesome. So is there anything that the ministry can do to make it easier? If one party refuses to turn up, very likely that party it is at fault. And the second question is that I would like to ask, how many shared e-scooter operators applied for e-scooter sharing licenses? I think the application closed yesterday, right? So how many applied? And the third question is how to ensure that all these shared e-scooters do not pose danger to the pedestrians and cause these amenities and chaos like what shared bicycle had done previously. E-scooters travel at much faster speed. I think a lot of residents have already given the feedback. Why is it that we are opening up to these shared e-scooter operators? So we need to look into this. And last question, it is about the insurance. Just now, SMS mentioned that it is not compulsory, if I hear it correctly. Can we make it compulsory so that when come to the claim, the person injured can claim against the insurance of the other party? Thank you.
I'd like to thank Engineer Dr. Lee Biwa for the 4 supplementary questions. With regards to the first question on civil suit, like I mentioned, if the 2 parties can actually agree to some form of mediation, I think that will be one of the best outcomes. But failing which, the claimant can also consider a civil suit against the offender in the state courts. And in the situation where the claimant is unable to afford the legal fees, the claimant can also approach the Legal Aid Bureau, which offers help to those who have difficulty procuring legal representation on their own. And of course, that will require some form of mean testing. In addition to that, the claimant can also approach the Law Society of Singapore, that can provide ad hoc pro bono services with free legal representation on a referred basis. And if the claimant wants to have some form of legal advice, they can also approach community legal clinics at Law Society, for they do offer basic legal advice to them and to give them some form of assurance what are the next course of action. With regards to e-scooter sharing licenses, so far we have received quite good responses. I do not have the exact numbers of licenses that will be issued, but once that information is available, I will be able to share with the member. And with regards to the third supplementary question on the e-scooter safety, I think we have the benefit of learning from our bike sharing experiences, and with the implementation of Active Mobility Act and also the implementation of safety requirements on the PMD users, we will be able to ensure that the use of e-scooters will be done in a safe manner. With regards to third-party insurance, right now it is not compulsory because the Active Mobility Advisory Panel did not recommend mandating this, given the diversity in device users, so as not to significantly reduce the uptake of active mobility. For example, it can be quite onerous on occasional active mobility users, as well as families and young children, to purchase mandatory third-party insurance. Instead, the advisory panel suggested placing greater focus on upstream prevention of accidents, such as lowering the speed limits on footpaths, and at the same time, encouraging users to stop and look out for oncoming traffic at road crossings. So these are some of the measures that the Active Mobility Panel have suggested. However, having said that, the panel strongly encourages the take-up of third-party liability insurance, in particular by food delivery companies for the employees. And more recently, LTA also announced that motorized PMD sharing licensees would be required to procure and maintain third-party liability insurances. So while it is not mandatory for PMD users to purchase third-party insurance, we do strongly encourage all active mobility device users to purchase third-party liability insurance to protect themselves against third-party claims in the event of an accident.
Engineer Dr. Lee Biwa.
Thank you. For the pro bono legal advice, provided by the Law Society, is there mean tested? That means, is it anybody who can go and ask? Because it's not easy to get help from legal aid. If you earn more than 1,500, you can't get from legal aid help already. So I think if everybody were to go along that direction, I think it's quite onerous, quite tough. So perhaps if there's increasing complaint, increasing incidents, perhaps ministry should look into this, how best. If the other party didn't turn up, that means the other party is at fault. Thank you.
Okay. I'd like to thank Engineer Lee Biwa for the additional supplementary question. Just to give a summary of how victims in accidents can actually proceed to seek compensation. Like I mentioned before, it could be in the form of either a private settlement or through mediation. And then secondly, of course, is through a civil action, which I think some of the limitations have been highlighted by the member. And thirdly, through criminal prosecution, if, let's say, the victim was involved in an accident and suffered significant injuries, they are encouraged to quickly file a police report, because that will allow the police to launch an investigation to determine if an offence has been committed. And should the AGC assess that offence has been committed, then the court will consider whether to order the offender to compensate the victim. So this is actually another avenue where victims can actually seek compensation.